Hi, I'm Mrs.D Math. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to go over how to model and solve one-step inequalities in 7th grade math. So let's get started. First, you might ask yourself, what is an inequality? And this is just a math statement that compares two expressions using symbols. In another video, we covered equations, which is two expressions that are equal to each other. In this case, we have expressions, but we're going to compare them using symbols. The most common symbols you're going to see are less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. An inequality is solved the same way that you solve an equation. So first we need a key that goes with our problem. Again, the key is still going to be the same as other videos you've seen with the models. So the x is represented by a green rectangle. The negative x is represented by the purple rectangle. The green squares are equal to 1, and the purple squares are equal to -1. So in this case, we still want to do the same thing that we've done with the equations. So again, the middle of your actual problem is going to be this symbol here, which in this case is a less than symbol. So in order to not get confused, I am going to remove that line, but that's still where we draw the line to balance both sides of our inequality. So we're going to go to the left side. The left side is where we see our x, or our variable, and that's the one thing we want to get by itself. Well, in this case, we only have one of them, and it is adding 2 on that side. So in order to get rid of both of those, I have to eliminate them by doing the opposite. And the opposite of +2 is going to be a -2. So if I have 2 of these negative boxes in order to zero out that pair, then I'm also going to have to put 2 negatives on the other side. Still same thing as an equation. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So now we're left with an x on the left side, and that is less than -10, because now I have 10 boxes on the right side. So let's do this mathematically as well, because I know for some people the visual is nice, but some people the math part is easier. So if I were to write out this problem, I would have x plus 2 is less than -8. And so I know that whatever I'm adding to that 2 is going to end up having to be a number that makes this left side less than -8. Essentially, I'm just undoing the problem. And in that case, I have to subtract 2 from both sides. And so again, this 2 minus 2 is 0, so that's gone. So x is less than, and I know -8 and -2 have the same sign, so I have to add those together and keep my sign. So again, x is less than -10. We are going to go over on other videos on how to graph this, but just a very short review, because most of you learned this in 6th grade. I'm going to go ahead and label this number line with my answer. My answer is that x is less than -10. So that means at -10, I'm going to have an open circle because it doesn't include -10, but it's everything up to -10 and less than. So my arrow would go to the left of -10. And you notice if you have your variable written first, your inequality symbol is actually pointing in the direction that your arrow would go on the number line whenever you're labeling it. But you have to make sure that your variable is on the left side of your inequality in order for that to be true. Otherwise, it would end up being flipped. So make sure that if you want to use that trick there to graph it, then just make sure that your variable is on the left side. When you are solving an inequality and your coefficient is a negative number, you will inverse your inequality sign. So just a reminder from a previous video, the coefficient is the number that is multiplying with your variable. So that could be 2x, that could be 5b, whatever is multiplying with your variable, that number in front is your coefficient. So again, we're going to have a key to represent our problem, and the key is still the same. And we have another problem here. So this problem has 4 negative x's on the left side and 12 positive ones on the right side. So I know that 4 negative x's are greater than or equal to 12 positives. I'm going to split these 12 ones into 4 groups. And so in order to make 4 groups, I'm going to need 3 in each group. So this could be a group. This could be a group. This could be a group. And here's my last group. So that would mean that negative x is greater than or equal to 3, because I know that there's going to be 3 in each group. But I have to move this negative to the other side because I don't want to be left with a negative x. Well, when I'm dividing by that negative or moving that negative to the other side, then I'm going to need to flip my sign. So now x would be less than or equal to negative 3. You can test this out if you don't remember, first of all, the direction your sign is supposed to go. And you can always test it out like an equation to make sure that it works or that it's true. So in this case, we do have an or equal to. So if I were to plug in a 3 first, okay, I know that negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. But I also know that negative 12 is not greater than or equal to positive 12, which I have on the right side. So that right there, when I check to see if the 3 works as a positive 3, it does not. So if I put in a negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12. Well, 12 is greater than or equal to 12. Okay? But what if I pick a number that is greater than negative 3? What if I hadn't flipped my sign here and I picked a number greater than negative 3? Well, I could go with 0. 0 is greater than negative 3. Negative 4 times 0, that's going to equal 0. And 0 is not greater than 12, which I have on the right side. So that tells me that something's wrong. But I know my negative 3 works. When we plugged in negative 3, we got positive 12. If I'm multiplying or dividing by a negative x value, then I'm going to have to flip my sign. So let's go ahead and write this out mathematically. So mathematically, we have negative 4x is greater than or equal to 12. So the one thing I had to do was divide both sides by negative 4, and then x ended up being less than or equal to negative 3. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Mrs.D Math. This has been how to model and solve one-step inequalities in 7th grade math. Have a great day. Bye.